Hey everybody, what's up? This is Devlog episode 2 of my Sandbox game, and well, this is what we have now. You can see that this version is much less green than the first one, and the reason for that is that we now have a proper mesh generator. Previously, as I mentioned in the first episode, I generated, or created really, a separate cube game object for each block in the world, and that was just way too many game objects. It lagged the game pretty heavily if the world just got too big, which is not exactly surprising. One of the big reasons for that is not so much the amount of game objects, although that does have an effect too, but the bigger effect is all the faces that are being generated. Because, of course, a simple cube game object has all of its 6 faces, so even the cubes all the way inside the world would show their faces, and those faces would have to be rendered, or at least considered by the rendering engine, even though you have no chance of seeing them because they're surrounded by other blocks. So the mesh generator addresses that by not generating those faces. So for this block, for example, it will look, okay, is this block to the side an air block? Yes, so I'm gonna generate this face. Same on this side, but on this side here, for example, this block will see, okay, my neighboring block is also a full block, so I don't need to generate a face there. And that's exactly what's happening. So if we just go down here, you can see there is no face here, and we can actually see all the way through the world and, well, out the other side, and then still see the world faces. You will recognize this kind of view from Minecraft. When you go into spectator mode and you go into the world, this is pretty much exactly what you see, because Minecraft uses basically the same system. The reason why we don't have any green textures or anything anymore is that, to simplify things, one game object can only hold one texture. This is not 100% true, but again, I'm simplifying. But basically, a single game object can only hold a single texture. And the thing is, I now have this debug texture here, but that means that I can't have like different block textures and apply them to this game object. So while these are still grass blocks and dirt blocks, and only then below that stone blocks, they all effectively have the same texture because I can only have one. The way to fix this, or not really fix it, the way to address it, I should say, is to use texture stitching. This is where you take all of the block textures and just put them together into one big texture, and then you take that texture to apply to your mesh, and you can effectively just take different parts of that texture to select certain blocks. This is basically what I still have to do. Texture stitching is not that trivial, I would assume. Like in principle, it's actually quite easy, but actually implementing it, I have no idea how easy that is in Unity, so I'm not sure how easy that will be or how difficult that will be. But that's definitely a thing for the next episode, texture stitching, so that we can actually have nice block textures again. And another thing that I need to address is the actual world itself, or the world data structure itself. Because right now, the way this works, if I place or break blocks, the mesh has to update. And the way it works is that it basically wipes the entire mesh and then regenerates the entire mesh, which is fine for a small world like this. This is just a 16 by 16 world. It's fine for that, it doesn't lag or anything, you can see that. But for a larger world, it does lag quite noticeably. So obviously you don't really want to have like a million blocks world generate the entire mesh again when you place a single block. Another issue that we have is an issue that I have to show you in a different version of this game. Alright, here we are in a different version of this game. The only difference is that this version generates a larger world. The previous version only generated this 16 by 16 corner here. This is a 128 by 128 world. The lag is not too bad when placing and breaking blocks. It's somewhat noticeable, but not too much. But more importantly, you will notice that this is not 128 blocks wide. And the reason for that is that the world actually extends, and you can see that this side actually doesn't generate the block faces. The reason for that is that the world, like the data structure, the world data, actually extends further. But we run into a different problem, and that is the mesh vertex cap. Because Unity meshes can only have a maximum of 65,000 and a bit vertices. And with 128 by 128 blocks, we very quickly reach that. So you can see on this side here, we have this triangle that's, you know, just a half face being generated. That's because this vertex down here that would be necessary to fill or to complete this face cannot be generated anymore because it's, you know, it's above the limit. And if I actually place blocks here, you can see as I add vertices here, more vertices get lost over here. And this is an issue that, you know, just continues. As I place blocks, you can see more and more faces will be lost over there. The way to address this and the way to address the lag problem that I mentioned before is chunks. By splitting the world into chunks, we first of all avoid regenerating the entire world, because we only need to regenerate that chunk that you place the block in, and potentially neighboring chunks, but that's a side note. So point is, we'll only regenerate a small part of the world, not the entire thing, which obviously addresses the lag. And a 16 by 16 by 16 cubic chunk has a maximum of like 49,000 or so vertices. So that's well below the limit, so it's basically impossible to run into this kind of problem that we ran into here. That will mean 16 by 16 by 16 chunks means that we will have 3D chunks. Yeah, 3D chunks are going to be a thing. Minecraft does this on a visual level as well, like each chunk in Minecraft is actually separated vertically into 16 by 16 by 16 cubes, but they are not used for world loading, they are only used for rendering. In my case, I will use them for world loading as well. So we'll have 3D chunks, 3D structural chunks, if you will, that I also used for world loading. And that means that in the future, not in the next episode, but in the future, we will be able to have 3D infinite worlds, which will be very interesting. So yeah, that's already it for this episode. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like my content. And apart from that, see you next time. Goodbye.